Welcome to the Daily History Podcast, where time unfolds and the past comes alive. Today's episode is a thrilling voyage to the heart of the Caribbean, where the Jolly Roger flags sway in the wind and the legends of pirates take hold. Join us as we navigate through the swashbuckling world of real pirates and tread the fine line between myth and history. Set sail with us as we uncover the real pirates of the Caribbean beyond the myths. Fasten your seatbelts, for this 20-minute journey is about to begin. Our journey through history begins with the golden age of piracy, a period that stretched from the late 1600s to the early 1700s. This era, teeming with ship raids and treasure hunts, was when piracy thrived in the warm waters of the Caribbean Sea. To truly understand piracy's surge, we must delve into the geopolitical climate of the time. European powers were grappling for dominance, resulting in constant maritime warfare. Meanwhile, nascent colonial economies in the New World were starting to prosper, providing fertile ground for those willing to take their share by the edge of a cutlass. Colonies, often strapped for resources and manpower, reluctantly tolerated privateers. These state-sanctioned pirates were authorized to attack enemy ships, but the blurry line between privateering and outright piracy sparked a tide of lawlessness. The Caribbean became a bustling hub for trade routes, brimming with merchant vessels loaded with goods from the Americas. Precious metals, sugar, and tobacco fueled a lucrative economy, but they also became siren calls for opportunistic pirates. The rising demand for these commodities in Europe made merchant ships prime targets. As European conflicts spilled into colonial waters, pirates found themselves both instigators and beneficiaries of the chaos that ensued. Flanking this backdrop of political tumult, social inequality played its part. Many pirates were former sailors and privateers, disillusioned by harsh treatment and meager pay. Others were escaped slaves, embracing piracy as a refuge from oppression. For them, piracy was not just a means to wealth, it was also an escape from societal constraints, albeit a dangerous one. With vessels and knowledge secured from their time in naval or merchant service, these men and women became formidable adversaries on the open sea. They developed intricate knowledge of the waters they sailed, key to their successful navigation and evasion of capture. The legendary tales often overlook the reality of this savvy and survivalist aspect of pirate life. It's these facets, the blend of necessity and opportunity, which bind the truth of the Caribbean pirates to their enduring legend. As we wade deeper into the waters of history, separating the glint of gold from the grit of truth, we reveal the characters and the circumstances that etched the era of the pirates into the annals of time. As we unfurl the sails of history, we cast our eyes upon the most notorious figures of piracy, beginning with the fearsome Blackbeard. With a name like Edward Teach or Thatch, he struck terror in the hearts of many during the early 18th century. His ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, was a formidable sight, believed to have been fitted with 40 guns, and her captain's appearance was equally intimidating. Blackbeard was known to thread slow-burning fuses into his beard, creating a menacing aura of smoke around his head in battle, a psychological tactic to terrify his enemies. Our journey does not stop with Blackbeard. We sail onward to Bonny, a woman whose fiery spirit defied the conventions of her time. Born in Ireland around 1700 and later moving to the colonies, Anne found adventure on the high seas rather than the restraints of domestic life. While her robust reputation suggests a bloodthirsty pirate, records indicate that she was never convicted of murder. Bonny's life was less about the cutlass and more about seizing freedom in an age that afforded women few rights or stories of their own. Joining Anne in legend and in truth is Calico Jack, known less for his piratical achievements and more for his association with Bonny and another famous female pirate, Mary Read. Calico Jack received his moniker due to his preference for calico clothing, and his most notable contribution to pirate lore is the design of the now famous Jolly Roger flag, with its stark white skull and crossed swords. His actual deeds of piracy, however, were relatively minor compared to the legends that surround him. Tales of treachery and bravery pepper the lives of these individuals. Blackbeard's final battle near Ocracoke Island in 1718 depicts him as a lion in combat, but ultimately ends in his grisly death by the hands of Lieutenant Robert Maynard. Meanwhile, Bonny and Calico Jack's partnership comes to a close with a surprise attack by pirate hunters in 1720, leading to Jack's execution and Anne's disappearance from the historical record after her capture, her fate becoming as mysterious as her life on the high seas. It's crucial to separate the tall tales from the tides of truth. The motivations of these pirates were complex, woven from a desire for freedom, adventure, and sometimes sheer survival. The golden age of piracy offered a stark alternative to the harsh realities of the time, but chaotic as their lives were, these pirates left an indelible mark on history and etched their names into the legends of the Caribbean. As we chart the course of history, we find that the lives of these maritime marauders were as turbulent as the Caribbean waters they sailed. Their stories remind us that the boundary between myth and man can often blur, leaving us with legends that echo through time, a reminder of an era where the sea was the stage for some of history's most extraordinary and enigmatic adventures. Let's delve into the cunning world of pirate strategies and weapons. The Caribbean Sea's temperamental waves were once ruled by the keen minds and sharp steel of infamous pirates. Masters of deception, they often flew false colors to disguise their ships as friendly vessels until they were close enough to strike. Swift and compact ships like sloops and brigantines were favored for their speed and maneuverability, enabling pirates to catch merchant ships off guard. From grappling hooks to cutlasses, every weapon served its purpose in ensuring a profitable and swift skirmish. One notable invention was the Pirate Code, a set of rules governing conduct and division of loot, establishing a form of crude but effective democracy amongst thieves. Life on the deck, however, wasn't all adventure and glamour. Aboard the ship, discipline was as much a part of daily life as the salt in the sea air. Pirates worked hard, maintaining their vessels and standing watch. They also lived under the threat of injuries and the constant scarcity of fresh food and water. Despite these hardships, the promise of treasure and the freedom of the sea kept their spirits high and their eyes on the horizon. The camaraderie amongst these outlaws often led to unique traditions and superstitions, which became as much a part of pirate lore as their infamous flags. The impact of piracy on maritime trade and colonial expansion was profound. Pirates disrupted trade routes, capturing valuable commodities and driving up the costs of goods. Their actions forced colonial powers to invest heavily in naval defenses and convoys, changing the economic and military landscape of the era. Pirates could be seen as the unruly children of colonialism, both a product and a hindrance to European quests for New World domination. As empires fought to control the waves, piracy's golden age flourished before the eventual tightening of the noose by the navies that hunted them down, signaling the eventual decline of these high seas outlaws. In the treacherous waters of the Caribbean, the rise of piracy presented the naval forces of the time with formidable challenges. Pirates, with their unrivaled knowledge of the local seas and their nimble, fast-moving ships, easily outmaneuvered the larger and more cumbersome vessels of the Navy. These sea rogues' unpredictable attacks left merchants and colonial powers yearning for tranquility on the high seas. Faced with this threat to their interests and the security of shipping lanes, the European powers began to strategize. They developed clever methods to root out the buccaneers. Key to their tactics was the establishment of convoys, groups of merchant ships that sailed together under the protection of naval vessels. They also forged a network of informants and incentivized pirate hunters with bounties, turning the tide in their favor. Naval crews were trained for relentless pursuit and maritime skirmishes, mastering the art of direct confrontations on the water. In fact, one of the turning points in the struggle against piracy was the demise of Bartholomew Roberts in February 1722. The Royal Navy had been meticulously tracking the infamous pirate who had terrorized the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. His capture sent a chilling message to all sea rogues that their reign was nearing its end. Similarly, the downfall of Calico Jack in 1720, primarily due to the bravery of his crew member Mary Read during his capture, symbolized the relentless pursuit of justice by the naval forces. Such examples marked the beginning of the end for an era of lawlessness, bringing order back to Caribbean waters. Fading slowly into the horizon, the pirates' dominion crumbled as the strength and sophistication of naval power surged. The empire had indeed struck back, using superior strategy, fortitude, and a resolve to restore safety and control over the waves. These echoes of cannonades and sails belong to the annals of history, but their impact shaped not just the future of seafaring, but also the geopolitical landscape of the burgeoning New World. As our vessel navigates the tides of time, we find ourselves reflecting on the ripples left by the pirates of the Caribbean long after their ships vanished over the horizon. The impact of piracy in this region extended far beyond the Buccaneers' era, influencing the economic and political currents for centuries. Pirates challenged the might of empires, disrupted vital trade routes, and compelled nations to develop new maritime laws and naval forces to safeguard their interests. Their audacious deeds in the 17th and 18th centuries ensured that their influence lingered, shaping the Caribbean's history and its portrayal in the collective conscience of society. In the contemporary tapestry of pop culture, pirates have been raised from their watery graves, not as villains, but rather as charming antiheroes. From Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean ride to the blockbuster film franchise it inspired, the swashbuckling rebel has been cast in a glamorous light, a symbol of freedom, adventure, and unbridled spirit. Literature, too, has played its part, with novels such as Treasure Island, introducing characters like Long John Silver, who have captured the fascination of both young and old. Far from the grim realities faced by the real pirates, these modern interpretations fashion a realm of high seas excitement free of scurvy and shipwrecks. One must ponder why, after centuries, the age of pirates holds a treasured spot in our imaginations. Perhaps it is the lure of hidden treasure that leads us on this boundless chase, or maybe it's the eternal human yearning for freedom and revolt against the status quo. The Pirates of the Caribbean were outliers, rebels who, in their quest for fortune and notoriety, inadvertently penned their names on the pages of history. As we hoist the sails in conclusion of this chapter, we recognize that their true legacy lies not only in the gold they coveted, but in the indomitable spirit they embodied, a spirit that compels us to continue exploring the deeper truths behind the legends we so admire. As we come to the end of our journey today, reflecting on the fierce and audacious lives of Caribbean pirates, we've navigated through myths and unraveled truths, sailing across the turbulent waters of history. From the notorious Blackbeard to the defiant Bonny and the cunning Calico Jack, their stories have been both dark and illuminating. We've learned of the strategies and weapons that made pirate ships dreaded and formidable, understanding how their actions on the high seas not only disrupted maritime trade, but also shaped colonial history. The relentless pursuits by naval forces, the bloody battles that ensued, and the eventual downfall of pirate reign marked a pivotal moment in the maritime saga of the Caribbean. But their legacy casts a long shadow, as pirates have captured and held our fascination, romanticized in films and books, striking a chord with the rebellious spirit within us all. So, what can we learn from these swashbuckling figures? How do they reflect the human quest for freedom and adventure, and why do their stories continue to resonate so deeply today? As we dock our ship for now, get ready to hoist the sails for our next historical adventure, where we'll uncover more truths and unveil more mysteries from the annals of time. We are ever grateful for your company on this historical odyssey, and we invite you to weigh anchor with us again, diving into the depths of history, searching for more forgotten tales and lost legacies. Join the conversation and make your mark on the Daily History Podcast. Drop your thoughts and comments, and who knows, the topic that kindles the most interest could be our next quest. So until we meet again, keep the torch of history burning and stay on the lookout for the beacon of our next episode. Fare thee well on your daily exploits, and remember, history is not just a tale of the past, it's a compass for the future. Thank you for joining us on the Daily History Podcast. If you've enjoyed this voyage into the true tales of the Caribbean pirates, remember to hit the subscribe button. Navigate down to the comments section of our YouTube video with your suggestions for future episodes. Your curiosity sets our sails, and the topic with the most likes might just be the treasure we hunt for next. Until our paths cross again, keep the history alive and watch for the signal of our next episode.